Yo, what is going on, guys? Hope everyone's having a fantastic day today. So I want to go over some news on the Philadelphia Eagles. And we're going to go over a little bit of off-season stuff. Nothing crazy, but some reports that have been flowing around a little bit. We have a whole nother week, guys. A whole week to talk about whatever we want because it's going to be a slow week. It's going to be a really slow week. When you talk about this team and the Eagles and Chiefs, how exciting that is to watch the Super Bowl with the Eagles the second time in 5 years, which is great. And we have some time to kill. So let's get into straight some of the news that we have here, and let's do it up.
We better do it. Because I've seen enough horror movies to know any weirdo wearing a mask is never friendly.
So interesting enough, I kind of sat there for a second and I said, man, this year feels so much different than when you talk about a Super Bowl year, this year feels so much different than 2017. I kind of wanted to get into what's the difference between 2017 and now obviously into 2023, okay? The 2022 to 2023 season. 2017 was really getting the monkeys off our backs with not winning a Super Bowl in 60 years and, the underdog season. That's what it was. A team that it took the first string, it took the second and third string to get it done. You came in with a quarterback that was an MVP caliber quarterback in Carson Wentz that led to an ACL, LCL tear in the Rams game. And then Nick Foles took over. You had, injuries to Jason Peters and Darren Sproles and Chris Maragos, a bunch of injuries, Jordan Hicks. The list went on. And, losing your starting quarterback was, a pivotal moment, winning the East that day against the Rams in L.A. Nick Foles kind of having to go in there and, pretty much do the rest of it for us. It was a year to where, we weren't really talked about, I think, until week 5 or 6 of the season where teams, maybe other analysts started to open their eyes that the Eagles were the real deal. But yet, because of these injuries and losing your starting quarterback, and you go into your divisional game as a first seed against the Falcons and, you're not treated as a first seed. And I have to say, because we never won a Super Bowl, that was probably the most pressuring moment that I've ever been through watching sports. Because obviously, when you're in the playoffs, there is no tomorrow in the playoffs unless you win. There's no other games to look forward to if you lose in the playoffs. But it was an amazing thing, and to have over 1,000 yards in a Super Bowl, back and forth yardage between both teams, between obviously Nick Foles and Tom Brady, and what they did in both of in that Super Bowl in 2017, it was absolutely amazing. And it was. You concentrate on that moment because you didn't win a Super Bowl yet, and you're more nervous, and you're having heart attacks every single game. It was just a lot of pressure. Going into that whole thing. And then, the other years happen after that. And, now we're at a third rebuild right now. From Andy Reid to Chip Kelly. From Chip Kelly to Doug Pearson. From Doug Pearson to Nick Sirianni now. 2022 to 2023. This season, it was a mixture of, can Jalen Hurts get it done? Can we stay healthy? And can the Eagles in that offseason pull off enough assets to really turn this into a championship team for years to come? And they pulled off some big moves. The first free agent move was Hassan Reddick. You brought in Kaiser White. You drafted Cam Jurgens. You drafted Devontae Smith. You drafted Landon Dickerson. You went all out, and traded for A.J. Brown this past offseason, during the draft. To pair up with Devontae Smith and already having Quez Watkins here, Dallas Goedert playing at a high level. So there was a lot of moving pieces, and the Eagles just kept going this year. But between Jalen Hurts, not to make it a long story short, Jalen Hurts proved that he could beat teams with his legs, beat teams with his arm. We've been down in games. We've been up in games. We've kept leads. We've been, like I said, we've been behind. We played in bad weather. We've won with Jalen Hurts' arm. It's been a really good season, and a season to where it feels different than 2017 because I know we have the talent to get this whole thing done. I said that from probably after week 5 of the season. I felt pretty good that this team can make a big playoff push. Once they hit 8-0, they lost against Washington. Then they only won one. They won against. They had a 1-point win against the Colts, and then they struggled against the Texans a little bit. And we started to get a little nervous that this team was starting to go downhill a little bit because when teams start hot way too early, sometimes that candle will burn out later on in the season, and that's what I was kind of afraid of. And really, what I was probably the number one I was probably most afraid of was this coaching staff between Jonathan Gannon and the bend don't break defense, and how he allowed teams to come back into games when we had good leads and not stepping on their necks. And Shane Steichen, not really much into bad play calling, but it was down to not running the ball at Miles Sanders in the first half. There was like 5 or 6 games they didn't run with Miles Sanders in the first half, barely even 20 yards. So that kind of, angered me a little bit. But at the end of the day, you got a 14-win season. And losing Jalen Hurts, or not losing him for 2 games, you only have 1 loss under Jalen Hurts, and you had to just win 1 game out of 3 more games to clinch the first seed, and they got it done, the last week. Of course, got to make it harder on ourselves the last week of the season. We were dealing with Jalen Hurts' shoulder. What was going on with that? Is it affecting him? Lane Johnson being out. Avonte Maddox wasn't back yet. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson just got back for that Giants game. So that number 1 seed was so important to us to get more healthy. And now, since you're in the Super Bowl, the Eagles had a whole nother week to get to get more healthy. And we'll have, for certain players, we'll have more time as well. So this season is different from 2017 because I feel, not trying to be cocky, conceited, I feel more confident that this is the best team in the NFL. This is the best team that can beat you in any way possible. 2,000-yard receivers. 2 1,000-yard receivers in A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, a 1,000-yard running back, and Miles Sanders. Okay, 4 defensive linemen with double-digit sacks. You have 2 of the best outside cornerbacks and yards allowed for the whole entire year. And James Bradbury, Darius Slay. We saw a bunch of pinnacle moments, even when Jordan Davis was hurt week 7, or I think it was week 6 or week 7 when he got hurt. And then we signed Linval Joseph and Ndamukong Suh. Howie Roseman was not letting this year slip away from him from one injury. Okay, when They want to add more firepower by the trade deadline and trade for Robert Quinn. They wanted to add 2 big-time vets like Linval and Ndamukong Suh to shore up the run defense. And I think and just from the start of that Colts game, it showed a huge difference. Then when Jordan Davis came back, that was pretty much it. We didn't have Derek Barnett all season, which we didn't really need him anyway. But this defense is no joke. I say out of all the positions we had from this year to from the Super Bowl year, probably a couple positions that are a little tiny bit better, but at the end of the day, guys, like, this team blows out roster-wise and production from 17. There's no doubt about it. And is it for me to say, do I feel cocky? Do I feel like they could beat anybody? Yes. I kind of felt that way a little bit. Not to show myself as, I'm cocky about this team, but I was just, how can I not be from how they have been playing this whole entire year? Without Jalen Hurts, and you started Gardner Minshew for 2 games, putting Minshew in a Jalen Hurts-type system, they set him up to fail those 2 games, and it was horrific. So Jalen Hurts pushed the coaching staff for that last game to play, against the Giants, when the Giants were playing their backups, and they limited Hurts from really doing anything in that game when it comes to run design by Jalen Hurts. They didn't do anything with him, and the offense didn't look great because you took away the one explosive player that could do the most, and that's Jalen Hurts, which makes the offense look very bland, very vanilla, very non-productive-esque, I could say. And that first week was great. I think since the playoffs has started, man, this defense has been very. This is God. You can't ask for a better roster defensively with what you have here. I mean, Hassan Reddick's underappreciated. Just so much, man. It's just Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. Reed Blankenship came in earlier in the year for Chauncey Gardner-Johnson getting hurt, and look what he's done. Avonte Maddox coming back was just absolutely amazing. I know he's in the walking toe boot, whatever, right now, but they said he will be 100% to play, so it's just more precautionary with the toe. It's nothing crazy, so I wouldn't worry about that too much. But yeah, this isn't the underdog story. This is the total opposite. This is the show that, this team has been poised. This team has not been big-headed all year, as A.J. Brown said the other day, which I totally believe. They've held each other accountable, which I think is the number one thing. And obviously Nick Sirianni was the start of, players believing. When a new coach gets to a team, the players have to believe in your head coach. The players want to have to play for your head coach and believe in him. And I think that's what happened. That was like the soil and the flowers and all that stuff that happened and letting this thing grow last year. We made a lot of mistakes last year. We had 2 first-year coach, 3 first-year offense, coordinators, a head coach, defensive coordinator, and an offensive coordinator. It wasn't, got to the playoffs last year, and we just couldn't survive the wild card. That was just the way it was. But this year, totally different year. They took the offseason seriously. Jalen Hurts leading the whole entire team. Seeing the pictures, seeing the videos of them working out. When it was cold rain weather, when you saw A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Quez Watkins, and Jalen Hurts walking up and down this hill in the rain, running up and down this hill and working their tails off, you knew that they meant business. And it was already revealed that they knew they were going to be good this year. They didn't want to say it during the season because you don't say that stuff during the season. It's kind of like a jinx when you think about it. But they knew that there was something there. Even Jalen Hurts promised Devontae Smith after that Tampa Bay loss, after watching the Super Bowl from last year, and like that's going to be us. He told Jalen Hurts told Devontae Smith that's going to be us going to next year. I promise that's going to be us. And he kept his promise, kept his word, and once Nick created this culture, Jalen Hurts gravitating those players towards him. And like I said, keeping each other accountable was the number one thing. Not being selfish about statistics and carries and catches and targets and all that stuff. It's been a very, very dominating season. And the fan base deserves this. The coaching staff deserves the most. And obviously Jeffrey Lurie's pinning himself back, letting Howie Roseman have full control over the past couple off seasons, and on top of everything else, the Eagles have the 10th overall pick in the draft, on top of another first round pick, and a second round pick for next year. So it's the Eagles are set up for a lot for the future, and that's what we're going to kind of get into with some offseason stuff. Nothing crazy. One thing I definitely want to talk about. So that's really going to talk about the Super Bowls and just how they feel. Like I said, I'm going to be nervous, but I feel I'm not as nervous as I was the first time around because we never won one. Now I feel more comfortable, and I feel more, man, we're going to win this game. I feel like this team is just going to win. And that's just how I feel. I feel like the Eagles have too many weapons. You compare it to the Chiefs. Mahomes is a fantastic player. They don't run the ball enough. If I'm just supposed to be worried about their defense with Chris Jones and Frank Clark, this is the number one offensive line in football. They're facing the number one defense in football, the best defensive line that's going to get after it all game. So there's a lot to look forward to here. So I kind of just want to explain the difference, and I want to know from you guys what 2017 felt like to what this feels like. More confident, more cocky. Like, I'm not going to be mad if you guys say that because I kind of feel a lot more confident and like, yeah, they should beat them. They've been dominating. That's what they've been doing. So that's all I got to say about that. Not to go too much into it. I know I spent almost 14 minutes talking about that, but I thought it was really important. Now next, on top of getting Jeff Stoutland back, which was, I got to say, it was just amazing when we talked about that news. Multi-year deal. Don't know the numbers. I'm guaranteeing you they paid him so much money. They'd be like, oh, what do you want? We want you here. What do you want? I want this much. Got it. All yours. I mean, he's the only remaining coach from the Chip Kelly era, which is just amazing to me. You know what I mean? Just amazing. One good thing that Chip Kelly did, right? And good thing that Doug did, too, because they kept him on. And then Sirianni kept him as well. So I'm really glad the loyalty that Jeff Stoutland has is, and he's gotten calls for interviews for offensive coordinator jobs. Plus, he's the run game coordinator for this team as well. And look what the run game has got you this year. So to go into all of that, okay, you got a lot of free agents going into this year, okay? What I kind of think about as of right now is defensively you have a lot of free agents, okay, between, you have Marcus Epps, you have Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, you have James Bradbury, Edwards, Kaiser White, Fletcher Cox, Sue, Linval, Hargrave, Brandon Graham. That's a lot of guys. Okay. The good thing about this whole thing is you're going to have another year where you can make a lot of good moves to make another run because Jalen Hurts' contract doesn't count for if they extend Jalen Hurts to a big contract, whatever happens in the Super Bowl, it's not going to count for next year anyway. So really, they're going to have a lot of maneuvering around to do whatever they want going into next season in 23, which the 23 season, which I think is going to be cool. But Isaac Seumalo has been circulating news right now that there is rumors that the Eagles are going to let him walk in the free agency, which I don't doubt. Okay, Lane Johnson signed through like 2026. So I don't think Lane's going to leave. I think he will be there. Jack Driscoll has seemed like the better backup right guard than the right tackle. I thought when Lane was gone, with Driscoll having more reps with the first team, I thought he would have played better. He's played right tackle very, very well in the past, but for some reason this year, not really feeling it too much. Now, the big question going into if Seumalo leaves, is Kelsey going to leave? Now, if Kelsey leaves, you're going to have a hole at center and guard. But Cam Jurgens is here, so I'm not really worried about it too much. So if Kelsey leaves, you're going to be putting Cam Jurgens at center regardless. But Kelsey has already said that this Super Bowl doesn't tell him if he's going to retire or not. Because I feel like he could play for another 2 years. I really do. I think they gave him like a year for like $14 million or something like that. They gave him a lot of money, which he definitely deserves. Best center in football. But with Isaac Seumalo, now if Kelsey does retire, if Kelsey does stay and Seumalo is gone, you're going to have to put Cam Jurgens at right guard. You can't redshirt him another year. Now, this past offseason, if you guys remember, during OTA's training camp, joint practices, remember when Kelsey decided to get the orthoscopic surgery in his shoulder, his elbow to clean out his elbow. Originally, Cam Jurgens was supposed to cross-train at right guard with Jason Kelsey, okay? But because him getting that surgery and Kelsey didn't come back to the first game, Jurgens was forced to play center that whole entire offseason. And trust me, he was a major impact from the first preseason game. A major impact. You put Kelsey and Cam Jurgens together, like literally stand next to each other, it looks like the same player. Like body size, height, I mean, it looks like the same player. That's how crazy it is, okay? This was a collaborative pick between Howie Roseman and Jason Kelsey, which I thought it was awesome when that pick came. You know, I'm down with drafting offensive linemen, and trust me, they have some draft picks. I would use that second round pick. I would 100% use that second round pick on another offensive lineman. I don't see why not. I think you got to do it. I think you really don't have it. I think you have no choice at this point but to do that. So the main question signings that I have right now, the top three that I have, is going to be James Bradbury, Hargrave, and Miles Sanders. Plus, not Hargrave. Sorry. Backtrack. I don't know why I said Hargrave. James Bradbury, Isaac Seumalo, and Miles Sanders. I think those are the two big question marks going into this offseason of who's going to get re-signed. Because at the end of the day, you're giving Jalen Hurts his extension. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson needs to get signed because not only can he play nickel and safety, he's definitely that moving piece that you need. Kind of that Malcolm Jenkins piece that that moved around the field. And once you can move a player like that around the field, he's very valuable. And, I think Reed Blankenship's going to play. I think he's going to be in competition next year. He might move, over to Marcus Epps' spot most likely because I don't think they re-sign Epps unless it's for really cheap and, really nothing. And Bradbury's probably the big question. Miles Sanders is a huge question because look at what Kenneth Gainwell's doing at the running back position right now. It's kind of crazy. Postseason, Kenneth Gainwell's played good all year, but postseason Kenneth Gainwell so far, wow, has played really good. So some Eagles fans are giving him more attention than Miles Sanders. Like, Miles can walk, Kenny G can get it done. Can he, though? I don't know. I would like to say yes, and I don't believe in the Eagles drafting a running back in the first round, which is definitely not going to happen. Theoretically, it's going to come down to, those three. And Bradbury, he's going to get a lot of money. It's just going to happen. If he stays, I'll be shocked. I'll actually be really shocked. But Isaac Seumalo, definitely. Look. If Isaac Seumalo walks, you know the Eagles are going to try to fix this. And Lane Johnson is probably going to. He's going to get his surgery. He's going to be out for 2 months. He'll be back for training camp and stuff like that. So, I think they might do something with this contract. I haven't checked out the contracts with Lane Johnson, what the cap hit's going to be and stuff like that. So they could mess with his contract a little bit, maybe move some money around. I don't know. Howie Roseman is very good at numbers and moving money and all that great stuff. So I wouldn't really worry about that too much. But look, if Isaac Seumalo walks and the Eagles don't re-sign him, I can't really blame them at all. He's been a very good right guard. Was he my favorite right guard when they drafted him from Oregon? What was it, Oregon State in the third round? Like, I wasn't a big fan of really his pass protection. I think his pass protection was very suspect the first couple years. And then I thought his run blocking was fantastic, but it was his pass protection was, I think he definitely got better over time. And Jeff Stoutland has done a really good job. Your offensive line is pretty much almost complete. You got your backup center for the future, hopefully. But if Kelsey stays and Cam Jurgens plays right guard, and trust me, Cam Jurgens playing between Kelsey and Lane Johnson, He's already learning a lot as it is. You know that man is going to be on fire. And look what Dickerson has turned into at left guard. He jumped into that 49ers home opener when Brandon Brooks went out. Dickerson played right guard. He played horrible. I think he got hurt a little bit. And then they put him to left guard after that, and that was pretty much it. I think when Seumalo ended up getting, injured at the time or something happened last year, and that was it. Like, Dickerson was supposed to be a late first-round pick because of a torn ACL that he had prior year to being drafted. That kind of affected his draft stock. Now you move Cam Jurgens to right guard. They might cross-train him at both. They might put him as a center and a right guard just so he knows both the whole entire year. God forbid anything happens. And what I believe right now is that Jason Kelsey will stay. I'm 90% sure that Kelsey is not going to retire, that he wants to come back, and that's going to be like the big thing after this game. Does he want to come back? Because if Hurts and him have a conversation to say, hey, Kelsey, look, like, we just won a Super Bowl. We can get another one next year. Let's do it. Like, keep the band together. You know what I mean? I wish Kelsey was, 5, 6 years younger. Trust me. But these guys get old. But Kelsey is not missing a step regardless. So I think if Kelsey comes back, you have to cross-train Jurgens at both positions. I think he should be your starting right guard going to next year, and you have to let him play center in the offseason. You got to at least try. Okay, because, sooner or later, Kelsey will retire, whether it's next year, the year after that. I say I give it another 2-3 years, he'll retire. If he stays with the Eagles, I think it'll be like a 2-year deal, not losing money in the second year. God forbid he gets hurt or he's just not feeling it after next year and wants to retire. The Eagles won't pay for it in that regard when it comes to money and contracts, dead money, stuff like that. So, like I said, this is a whole thing, guys. Like, we're going to be going through all this later on. I could talk about this for hours. We're already almost 23 minutes into this video. But, it's been sorry, I didn't put up Cam Jurgens' picture. I got really into this whole conversation. But, yeah, it's exciting, man. This is going to be an interesting offseason. Will it be as big as last year? No, but it's still going to be like, who are the Eagles going to keep? Who are they going to re-sign? There's going to be probably one we're going to be like, oh, my God, like, I can't believe they re-signed him. It's going to happen. We're going to be like, oh, my God. Just look back at this video when you hear that. So other than that, guys, that's pretty much it. That's all I really want to say. We talked about Cam Jurgens. We talked about Kelsey. We talked about, obviously, this offensive line in general. Isaac Seumalo could walk in the free agency. That is the news as of right now. And yeah, we talked about the difference between how we felt about the 2017 Super Bowl and obviously this year, 22 going into 23. How do you feel about it? Just let me know in the comment section below. Make sure you like this video and make sure you subscribe as well for more Eagles news every single day. I didn't think I was going to put a video out. I actually wasn't going to put a video out today. Actually, this video, it wasn't even supposed to really exist, but I was, I always come up with things to really talk about. And this news kind of was important. And since we have a week left, why not talk about the offseason stuff? I say, why not? Because once the offseason comes, it's busy, 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 busy. It does not stop. This train does not stop. So that's about it. You guys have a fantastic day. I'll see you guys on the next one. SHAKESQUAD up, follow, slide. Peace out, guys. Peace.